school had no toilets at the time. So we went to visit the school and we made a commitment to the kids at the time that we were going to build toilets for them. And this is actually, these are the toilets that we built in that school. So 500 kids, we built 15 toilets. And there was about 6 for, well, actually 5 for boys and 1 for male teachers and 1 for female teachers and the rest for the girls. After the unveiling of these toilets, I left the city where we'd unveiled them and headed down to Goa. Now, I don't know if you know of Goa. Goa is a very famous area for beautiful beaches in India. I don't think I'm going to find a photo of Goa here. I'll stick with those toilets. They're the more important part of the story. So I'd been invited to speak at a conference on sanitation in another city in India a few days later. So I went to Goa to write my paper. And while I was writing the paper, about 3 days after we'd opened these toilets, I had a phone call from the headmaster at the school. And he said, "Mark, we've got a problem." And I can tell you, I did not want to hear about problems. You know, we'd worked hard to get these toilets built. We thought we'd done something really good for the school, and now we're hearing about problems. The hackles went up on the back of my neck, and I said, "Tell me, what's the problem?" He said, "The boys are complaining." I had no inkling as to why the boys would be complaining, because we built toilets for the boys. So what could they be complaining about? And he said, "Yeah, they're complaining because the line for drinking water has become longer because the girls have started drinking water during the day." So I've got to tell you, to get this complaint, I'll say in quotation marks, just 3 days after completing the construction of the infrastructure in the school was incredibly exciting. You know, a lot of development work, you build your infrastructure, you set up your maintenance programs, you do your education programs, and then you sit back and you cross your fingers for a couple of years and hope that it works. And we were seeing real world positive impact within 3 days of the completion of this project. And it was just beyond anything that we'd imagined. I guess the issue of girls drinking water during the day, well, for the women listening to me now, I guess you would all understand straight away, well, if there's nowhere to go to the toilet, the last thing you want to do is have a drink of water. For men, we don't think about that. There's always a tree around the corner or a wall against a building. As much as that might sound gross, you know, men have that, let's call it an advantage. So anyway, we're pretty excited. We told this headmaster he'd better buy another drinking water dispenser, and a couple of months later, I had a call from my contact in India, the guy who had introduced me to the school in the first case, and he was very excited. And when Indians are excited, they speak faster. And when they speak faster, they're quite hard to understand. And I've got a pretty good ear for it, but this guy, I was having a lot of trouble understanding, and I told him to slow down. And eventually, he slowed down, he calmed down enough to tell me that he'd visited the school unannounced that morning. And sorry about this. I get a bit emotional about some of these stories. It's pretty exciting stuff for us to see these impacts. So he visited the school unannounced that morning, and when he arrived, there was a contractor there changing over the sanitary bins. Now, changing over the sanitary bins happens for a couple of reasons. One, you have sanitary bins. Prior to these toilets going in, there were no sanitary bins in the school. There was no facility for the adolescent girls to deal with their personal needs when they were menstruating. So they just didn't come to school at that time. The other reason you change over sanitary bins is because they're being used and they need to be changed over. So what this was telling us is that not only had the bins been put in, but they were being used. And the headmaster told us at that time, it was all anecdotal, but the numbers were extraordinary. He said that before the toilets went in, they had a daily absentee rate across the entire student body of about 10% of students, boys and girls, absent every day from school. And in the 2 months since the toilets had opened, that daily absentee rate had dropped to about 1%. So that is just a staggering improvement. So we've seen the first improvement was girls drinking water immediately after the toilets open, and then within a couple of months seeing incredibly strong evidence that the girls were now attending school regardless of the time of the month, and that absenteeism had now dropped down to probably close to Western absenteeism levels, all within 2 months. So we were, as you can imagine, very heartened by this first project, 15 toilets for 500 kids. So we got together, the Rotary Club that I had joined and our Rotary friends in India. We decided to branch out, to go for something bigger. And so we put together a project 10 times the size, 5,000 children and 150 toilets. And we set up a competitive process where the schools could apply for our assistance. And we rejected about 80% of the schools that applied for assistance because we were clear that they had to show their commitment to the project, not just to us giving them money and building it, but to actually what it meant beyond that. And about 8 months later, we then unveiled toilets in these. I think it was 1,500 children. No, sorry, 150 toilets, 5,000 children. It was over about 8 schools, here you'll see some of the toilets that we opened in some of these schools. That's one of them there. Some of the kids. Well, my favourite photo of the kids in that particular school is this one here. This is a really special picture to me. The young man in the middle is a guy one of the 2 guys that approached me on the train 5 years ago and asked me where I was from. So who lives in the slum, Dharavi. And after we opened the first toilets, I went back to the slum looking for him, and incredibly, in a population of 1 million, managed to find him and told him what we'd been doing. He's become one of our great ambassadors since. He's been out to visit most of the schools where we've opened toilets so far, which, by the way, we've now moved on. We've reached more than 15,000 children in the last 3 years. By the end of this year, we're expecting that number to be closer to 50,000. I have one project that I've been working on outside Rotary International circles, which we hope will bring Rotary into. This is an incredibly exciting project in a city called Pune. Well, I'm just bringing up some photos here. Hand washing, by the way, is a critical component of bringing proper sanitation to schools. We can talk about that later if time permits, so if you have any questions about it. But this school this project that's not connected with Rotary that we're looking at is in a district called Raigad, which is Raigad is about 2 hours south of Mumbai by road. And let's see if I can find these photos. And I met a guy in the city of Pune who is known around India as the poop guy. And he had an opportunity presented to him to build toilets in 100 primary schools across 87 small villages. I'm not finding these photos, but that's okay. And so I went to visit a few of these schools with him. And one school we went to, this is, I think of all my experiences so far, this is the most emotional and most, the one that highlights the simplicity of the solution to this terrible problem. So as a school we visited with 25 children, all primary age, 6, 7, 8 years old, boys and girls, no toilets, which, at primary age, if there's no toilets, I guess, they have to go outside. It's not the same impact on dignity as it is on adolescents, for example, but still, nevertheless, not good enough. And they had one teacher, a female teacher, 25 years old. So I asked her how she manages. And she told me that she rides a bus about 2 hours from home to work every morning, and then she works all day, and then she rides a bus 2 hours home. And when she gets home, she has a big glass of water. So she's telling us with that she does not drink water all day, even in the height of the Indian summer. And I can tell you, Indian summers are hot and dry. And this is how she's lived her life since adolescence. No water during the day. So I asked her through the interpreter how she manages when she has her period. And she said, well, the children don't go to school that week. So this project involving 100 schools was going to take some time to prepare, but after meeting that woman, I said to my friend, the poop guy, how about we do something in this school? Let's just put a toilet in this school now, even if the rest of them take time to prepare. I had about $500 in my pocket. I just gave it to him and said, can you cover the rest? And it was another 500, so $1,000. And a few weeks later, I had a message from him through, so from the teacher sent through my friend, the poop guy, saying that the toilet had just been opened, and the first thing that she now does when she goes to school is have a big drink of water. So that was such a great thing to hear. 2 months later, which is only about 2 months ago now, she sent another message to let me know that the month just ended. It was the first month that children in that school had an opportunity to go to school every day for the entire month. Basically, she was telling me that she was able to go to school when she was menstruating. Now, in the Western world, women don't tell men that generally because they don't need to. We've got the solutions that we need to help adolescent girls and adult women deal with their very personal needs at that time. So, when my daughter was going through puberty, I asked my wife, is everything okay? She said yes. That was it. I've never asked anything about it since, because I know my wife would tell me if there's a problem, and if it's a problem that's now nothing, it's no longer anything to do with me, because I've done what I need to, I feel, to ensure that my daughter has everything she needs to deal with her personal needs. In India, if a father asks his wife, is everything okay with my daughter at that age, the answer in so many cases is going to be, well, no, it's not okay. And so I guess the message for me from that is, when the answer is no, it's not okay, this becomes everybody's business, not just the personal business of the adolescent girl or the woman, but everybody's business, including men. So I think that's the crux of what I want to tell you today. If I can stop sharing.
I want to interject here, Mark, because we've had Rotary in the audience all day. Fran, I happen to know that Fran, who's logged in, is very active with her Rotary Club. So I was happy to hear of your partnership with Rotary. So what I want to do is make sure that everyone who is logged on right now has an opportunity to ask questions of Mark. Obviously, he's got a Facebook presence. You can certainly reach out to him via Facebook. But we have an opportunity to ask Mark anything about the work that he does and the passions that he's shared with us today.
Can I just ask you quickly, has the video disappeared? Or are you still seeing me?
I'm here.
You can still see me, but my camera, I can't see it. That's all.
I can see you, and you stopped screen sharing, so I see our
our slide
up there.
Very good. All right. So yeah. Any questions?
Not currently in the Q&A or the chat, but we'll give it another minute or so. I'll take that as an opportunity to say thank you, Mark, for sharing time with us today on World Water Day. Yesterday for you, but today for us. Did you have a question, Jazzy?
Yeah.
We actually have students here from Mott Middle College.
Great.
Yeah.
And Jazzy has a question. So, Jazzy, I'm going to have you ask your question nice and loud.
So you mentioned the young lady who, several young ladies who have to stay at home during this period of time, and they can't go to school. Do they have, at the schools, do you know if they have feminine products for these girls that are accessible to them?
Look, I can tell you when we started the work, they did not.
Wow.
There were, no means of disposal either. So we've been working with an organization called Days for Girls. And Days for Girls, they were founded by a woman in the US, and they actually make washable pads, washable hygiene products for women, and they've been very popular in parts of Africa. They're not doing so well in India because India is it's far more developed than many African nations, and women are wanting to be more Western in the way they look after themselves, and so both products of some countries say aspire to. But in really poor communities, there is actually no such options. I visited a school run by a social enterprise which is specifically focused on looking after the poor. And this particular school, they were manufacturing pads within the school where adolescent girls were taught how to make these products, and then they had a dispensing unit where they'd pay the equivalent of about 3 or 4 American cents to buy a disposable pad from the dispensing unit. And when I visited the school, they took me to the room where the girls were making these disposable pads. And this was also an extraordinary emotional experience. Two young girls, 13, 14 years old, they spoke pretty good English. They introduced themselves to me, and then they explained the process. They told me how they made them, and they wanted to show me how it was done. And they told me that part of the process is a quality control, quality assurance process, where they do random absorbency testing. Now, this is, I've got to tell you, for a middle-aged man, this is a confronting conversation, and having a couple of young teenage girls telling you about this is really, I was quite taken aback at their inner strength, at their pride in themselves and their self-confidence. And I guess that they were being taught in an environment where they were being brought up to know that it's a beautiful thing to be a woman, and there's no reason that as a woman that you should see anything about yourself as being less important or valuable than a man. And so this was actually a beautiful experience, very, very emotional. But yes, most schools, the environment we're working in, that's nothing at the beginning, and by the time we leave, they do have capacity to just provide what the girls need.
So, hey, Mark, I have a question, comment. My name is Jan. I'm with CILC. I was very moved by your stories, and I went to your Facebook page and liked you and followed you, and I hit the donate button. And guess what? It didn't work. It gave me a message that it had malware on it or something. So I'm just telling you so you fix it so I can give you some money.
That's, let me find another quick. You're telling me about that. That's not good at all.
Well, it's good you found out the problem. So thanks, Jan. Well, very good. I don't see any further questions in chat or in the Q&A. And Mark, again, thank you for taking time to share with us today on World Water Day. So I'll take this as an opportunity to just inform everybody that at the top of the hour, which is 8 p.m. Eastern, we have a panel open discussion with students from Mott Middle College, which is a high school here in Flint, Michigan. So now's your time to start thinking about questions and have a conversation with these young people. They're pretty passionate. We had an opportunity to have them present, some of them present earlier this morning. And I just want to check the chat one more time before I go. Mark put a link to wecannotwait.org in the chat, so you can use that to go to his website.
I'm hoping that's not where you sent it.
And we'll also put that out on Ripples Make Waves.
That one looks okay. And these numbers are in Australian dollars, which is a lot less than the US dollar.
Jan used to live there, so she probably knows.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Mark. I'll let you wrap it up.
Ask you one question. Who is the Rotarian that you mentioned earlier?
In the attendee list, her name is Fran Wargolet, and she is a Rotarian whose club has financially supported our water systems in Guatemala, where Adventure Kids Learning broadcasts from. She was down there with us last year and this year, rolling up her sleeves and sending club money, so to be part of the water project. She's been logged in all day, so maybe we just caught her away, but I wanted to give her a Rotarian shout out.
Well, you can let her know I'm going to be in the States in June, attending the Rotary International Convention in Atlanta.
She knows because I actually submitted a proposal to present this particular project with her, and we did not get accepted. Otherwise, we would have met up with you there.
Okay, well, look,
thanks, Mark.
Thank you all very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. So with that being said, we'll probably go quiet for a little while. I think we might do a little bit of video testing, but at 8 o'clock, you'll have an opportunity to have an open conversation with some young people here from Flint. Following our 8 o'clock presentation or our 8 o'clock time slot, there is another Australian presentation, and that is with Reef HQ Aquarium. You'll have an opportunity to interact with a diver while he's underwater and talk about the health of the barrier reef. So stay tuned, come back, but that presentation is a different URL, and I will post that URL in the chat box. It's also been emailed to everybody that registered. It's also up on the Ripples Make Waves Facebook site. All right, going quiet for a bit. Thanks, Mark.